Thank you. I'd like to give you an update with regards to Homicide 31 for 2018. This is probably my first opportunity. I have spoken to a couple of the media agencies individually, but I'd like to give you a full narrative of the deceased's activity on the night that he was murdered, and I'd like to release some security video of his shooting, which takes place in a underground or on the ramp of an underground at 18 Wellington Street West. So the deceased in this case is Jaiden Jackson. He's 28 years. And on Sunday, the 20th of May of 2018, the deceased attended a bar known as Pick 6, which is located at the southeast corner of Yonge Street and Wellington Street West in Toronto. And the deceased attended the bar. He was present for a number of hours. There was a party going on within the bar. There was a number of patrons within the bar attending this particular party. And the deceased left in the company of a young woman, as I have indicated earlier, who has now been found. She has been interviewed, she's been identified, and she's cooperating completely with the investigation. So they left the bar at approximately 9 p.m. together, and they were walking westbound on the north side of Wellington Street. The deceased had parked his motor vehicle on the north side of Wellington Street, approximately 100 meters west of Yonge Street. The suspect vehicle in this investigation, we believe, is a black four-door Honda Civic with a sunroof, and it's an older model, maybe a 2010 or a 2012 vehicle. We have video surveillance of the vehicle in the area, and it can be seen driving southbound on Jordan Street from Melinda Street, which is a street that's just west of Yonge Street. The three suspects are in the vehicle. They drive south on Jordan Street, and they make a left turn at Wellington to proceed the wrong way on a one-way street. Wellington Street West at this location is a one-way westbound. So the vehicle proceeds a short distance the wrong way on Wellington Street. They observe the deceased and the young woman on the north side of Wellington Street, and the suspect vehicle makes a U-turn and approaches them. They pull up to the deceased, and as soon as the deceased sees them, he begins to run. Two suspects get out of the vehicle and begin to shoot at the deceased person. The deceased runs west along Wellington Street West for a short distance, and then he makes a right turn to go down the ramp into the underground parking garage of 18 Wellington Street West. 18 Wellington Street West is a high-rise financial building in the financial district. The two suspects are chasing the deceased down the ramp, and in addition to that, the driver of the Honda Civic is also driving down the ramp. The video, which I'll play for you in a minute, and I'll answer any questions with regards to it. So you can see the deceased run down the ramp, and the deceased falls onto the ground. And at that point, the two offenders who are on foot catch up to him, as well as the suspect who's driving the Honda Civic, and all three at the same time begin to shoot at the deceased person who's now lying on the ground. The deceased, I can indicate, is shot numerous times. What you see afterwards is the two individuals who are on foot re-enter the Honda, and it's seen reversing up the ramp to Wellington Street. The vehicle re-enters the road surface of Wellington Street West, and it proceeds westbound to Bay Street, southbound on Bay towards the Gardiner Expressway. The homicide squad, like in many other investigations, are seeking the public's assistance to identify the individuals responsible for the murder of Jaiden Jackson and the ownership or occupants or operator of the suspect Honda Civic. The homicide squad, with the assistance of 52 Division, are still gathering and examining video from the surrounding area, and you can imagine in that particular area of the city there's a tremendous amount of video. It's all extremely high-grade video, and all in relation to trying to gather additional images of the Honda Civic and identify the license plate. And as you will see from the video that I'm going to start right now is that there are two offenders who are out of the car, and there's one individual who is in the car as the driver, and all three are concealing their identity by the use of hooded sweatshirts. So I'll ask that to be played right now. We've redacted the area of the deceased as he's being shot in the interest of the family. So I can indicate that in speaking with the forensic pathologist, the deceased person was shot over 20 times. 20 individual strikes. He was clearly, without saying any additional details, targeted for this particular offense. We have 3 very dangerous people out in the community that we're very interested in apprehending as soon as possible, and that's why I'm here this afternoon. So I'll answer any of your questions.
When looking at this video, what do you want the public to keep in mind so that they can identify?
I think, quite frankly, the most interesting feature is the Honda Civic in relation to whether that vehicle, which is an older model vehicle, is recognized, and whether or not people within the community are aware of any particular problems that Mr. Jackson might have been having at the time of his death.
Can't you do something to get the license plate?
We've been trying a number of different sources to try to augment any identifying features of the license plate, and that process is still ongoing.
Do you believe that there was anyone inside the restaurant Pick 6 that was cooperating with the suspects?
That's certainly a possibility, and we have the video surveillance from inside the event that was going on at Pick 6, and the cameras are extremely high grade, high definition cameras, and they've been cooperative with us with regards to the video, so that video is still being examined.
Do you know at this time if the deceased was invited to that private party or was a guest of someone else?
My understanding is, and I'm not certain where he fell, but there was a guest list, but each one of the invited guests could bring a number of guests of their own, and that's what expanded the guest list into an area that we may not be able to identify.
You said the suspect's car went southbound along Bay.
Yes.
I'm assuming you've looked at restaurants and businesses along there. Was the car just lost after a certain point?
At a certain point in and around Union Station, the car is lost, and I'm assuming, and I can't say for certain, that it's heading towards the Lakeshore or the Gardner Expressway.
Can you say again what model you think this might be, what year?
We believe it might be, it's an older model Honda Civic, maybe 2010, 2012. It's black, it has 4 doors, and has a sunroof.
Can you give us a little bit of the deceased's history? We know earlier you said he was known to police.
Yeah, I'm not going to elaborate on what known means, but we knew of him, and by definition, he had a history with the Toronto Police Service. But as far as moving the investigation forward, we're looking for 3 extremely dangerous individuals that we want to apprehend as soon as possible. If they must have been aware that there was video in this area, but they don't seem to be overly concerned about it. All right, thank you.
Are we able to pick up that video off your website?
Yes.
That concludes today's news conference. Thank you for attending.